Good evening. I'm Larry Kestenbaum. I'm the Washtenaw County Clerk and Register of Deeds, and it is my duty in January of every year to convene the first meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the year. So welcome to the year 2026 and Board of Commissioners in the Board of Commissioners year. I have been requested that we begin with a moment of silence for a person who was killed in Minneapolis yesterday or today, I'm not sure. So I will entertain a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Beaman,
Present.
Commissioner Hodge,
Here.
Commissioner Labar,
Here.
Commissioner Light,
Present.
Commissioner Machewski,
Here.
Commissioner Robbie, Commissioner Sanders,
Present.
Commissioner Scott,
Here.
Commissioner Somerville.
Here.
Thank you. Now, before we start with the public participation, I want to make a few comments primarily for there we go. Recognize the importance of the business that comes to this group, to this table. And I suggest that you not take yourselves too seriously, but you do take your responsibility seriously. And that you should recognize that not every point of view is represented around this table. And I urge you to listen to your constituents in your districts and learn from them. And finally, I want to urge you to have some collegiality with the other members of the board. I remember when I was on this board and I called up one of the other commissioners to lobby them about something. And they said, the person who I called said, "Why are you calling me?" Like he'd never heard from another commissioner calling him. So I would urge you not to think of it that way. You folks, all of you are working together and what is recognized is your total group work product, not your individual contributions necessarily. All right, now we're going to have the time. This is the time for public participation. There is a 3-minute limit, and I ask that you come before the podium there and state your name and your city or township for the record, and make your comments. And the lights on the timer will show up according to when you're close to getting your time. When your time is up, it'll grow red, yellow before that. So please proceed.
My name is Laura Sanders from Dexter Township. Last January, a group of immigrant employees were disappeared by ICE from the kitchen of an Ann Arbor restaurant. Then it happened again and again, and then again. In April, my spouse Ramiro was racially profiled by ICE in the parking lot of Canton Courthouse. He was threatened, forced to the ground, his hands cuffed behind his back, and illegally searched. Later that day, the young man he was accompanying with a wife and infant at home was disappeared from the same lot after appearing in court. Also in April, ICE subpoenaed our private Washtenaw County records to target and aid in deporting our immigrant community members. In October, children were abandoned at Ann Arbor Public School after their parents were abducted by ICE during the school day. In November, a father was detained outside of Dexter Middle School after dropping his children off, the second of such incidences we know of. In November, ICE unlawfully disappeared 2 men from a local gas station on their way to their job, building a playground for children. On November 24th, a young man was so violently assaulted in an ICE arrest at a local apartment complex. He was taken to St. Joe's Trinity Emergency Room. The staff treated him and then released him right back into the hands of his abusers without even questioning the lawfulness of his arrest or his safety. In December, Customs and Border Patrol was provided bathroom services by local police in the Larkham City Hall building for an immigrant detainee who was likely unlawfully arrested and then disappeared. No questions asked and no attempt to intervene by our local police. This week, Willow Run Airport was used to deport the latest of 73 flights noted in the past year. The point is that ICE is all over our community daily, and our systems, including hospitals, schools, housing, transit, governments, courthouses, businesses, restaurants, and yes, even our local police are still utterly unprepared to resist this assault on our immigrant community. We are complicit with ICE unless we take intentional, proactive steps to stop them. This is why, along with our Ann Arbor City officials, we ask you all to champion an ICE-free zone policy that prohibits ICE from entering municipal buildings or using property, parking lots, or resources to carry out their egregious activities. We ask for your urgent support and action. Please get this initiative on your agenda as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Perone. I live at 1120 Brooks Street in the 5th Ward, Ann Arbor, and have been an Ann Arbor resident for many decades. I've been working alongside immigrant communities in our county for over 15 years and am currently part of MIRA, Movement for Immigrant Rights Action. And I speak here tonight in the same spirit that you just heard to ask you to join us in MIRA as we initiate efforts to let ICE, Border Patrol, and other immigration-related enforcement entities know that they are not welcome in Washtenaw County and that we will not avail them of any of our resources or access to county-owned spaces. This means banning ICE from access to all county buildings, properties, and programs. As you are so well aware, both documented and undocumented residents of our community are facing increasingly terrifying challenges in their day-to-day lives, as federal ICE officers have been ramping up their local apprehension activities. Most frequently, these are arbitrary and almost always without appropriate judicial warrants. Our neighbors, coworkers, fellow family members, and friends have been subjected to a kind of extra-legal intimidation that makes it increasingly problematic for them to avail themselves of public supports and services for which they are eligible and fully entitled. But it is not safe for them to venture out into public spaces. They face being kidnapped and then disappeared into a random prison system that denies them due process, obstructs their access to legal supports, and thwarts their ability to communicate with their families. The impact on county resident families, especially those with young children, has been quite devastating. We've been heartened by many of the things that Washtenaw County has done to help protect and support our immigrant neighbors. I am sure that the majority of people in our county and you, the Board of Commissioners, feel both a legal and moral obligation to ensure that whatever public services local residents are eligible to receive, that they can be safely accessed, especially when those services are being offered in county buildings and facilities. We believe that the board adopting a strong resolution and having clear practices in place to deny access to ICE will go a long way toward assuring the immigrant community that we are taking a stand to protect them from cruel, unusual, and often illegal federal law enforcement. Please come together as a board to put this resolution on the agenda for your next board meeting, to declare our Washtenaw County buildings, properties, and assets as ICE-free zones. Let's put ourselves on the map alongside other municipalities and counties who have taken courageous and bold steps
I'm
resist.
sorry, your 3 minutes are up. We
Thank you.
wanted to allow everyone to have a chance to speak, but
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Good evening. My name is Richard Stoller Schulk. I live in Ann Arbor. I've been a resident of Washtenaw County for 28 years, and I'm an advocate with MIRA, the Movement for Immigrant Rights Action. And I would like to also support action by the Board of Regents to pass a resolution to protect immigrant rights. We've been speaking about this issue with Ann Arbor City Council. We also met with the Ann Arbor Police Chief, and we believe that there need to be further protections at the county level. As you know, militarized agents of immigration and customs enforcement, as well as Customs and Border Protection, have been engaging in surveillance and racial profiling, snatching people that they suspect of being immigrants off the streets, including from school parking lots, hospitals, and courthouses. In late 2025, ICE started contracting, hiring private bounty hunters. Often the agents are masked. They refuse to identify themselves. They often use excessive force. They do not have judicial warrants for these detentions. They move the detainees around rapidly so that their loved ones can't find where they are. Some of the, and attorneys don't have access to them so that they can have due process. Some of the detainees are held in ICE's North Lake Processing Facility in Baldwin, Michigan, which is now the largest immigration detention center in the Midwest, and it has a terrible reputation, a long history of abuse. Some of the detainees are whisked out of the country on shadowy charter flights from Willow Run Airport. These secretive operations lack transparency and accountability, but they're disappearing our neighbors from Washtenaw County every single week. 1 in 8 residents of Washtenaw County is an immigrant. Our hardworking immigrant friends and neighbors are living in fear. ICE just shot and killed an unarmed woman in Minneapolis. We don't want a police state here. Resistance to the anti-immigrant witch hunt is growing. As you know, 5 protesters were just arrested in Kent County for protesting the sheriff's office there, which has been collaborating with ICE and turning detainees, holding them in their jail and turning them over to ICE. Fortunately, Washtenaw County refuses to collaborate with ICE in a similar manner. We at MIRA urge the Board of Commissioners to ban ICE from all county buildings or facilities. County employees and agencies should be prohibited from sharing information with ICE or detaining individuals based solely on their immigration status. Chicago has done this through executive order, which also commits resources to know your rights trainings and other support for the immigrant community, as well as cooperation with other community, business, and faith organizations to keep people safe from the threats caused by federal immigration enforcement. Our local government needs to be proactive and implement similar protective measures and policies. Our community is stronger for its diversity and its caring. When the next generation asks what we did to stand up to tyranny, let us be able to hold our heads up high. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a resident of the city of Ypsilanti, and I'm here because of the extraordinary violence that we witnessed this week at the hands of police in our town. I'm going to be focusing on the events that took place near Cross Street, but I also want to mention that on Tuesday, a man ended up murdered by the cops in an incident that began because he didn't have identifying plates on his car. I'd like to remind you that a lot of cars don't have plates right now. They're the cars disappearing our neighbors, but apparently that gives them a pass. The events this week at our neighbor Ruben's home escalated beyond imagination by local and state police forces are a shame on every level of government in Michigan and to all of us here. If your instinct is to say that accountability for the assault on Ruben's home and life is outside of the county's hands, consider why you are so eager to ignore the part that every single body with political and social power plays in creating and maintaining a world where we not only condone this behavior by so-called law enforcement, but we also fund and facilitate it. If you are not actively combating these systems of violence that meet a man in a mental health crisis with tear gas, guns, showers of cold water pumped into someone's home without power on a Michigan winter night, when there is a high probability that they will freeze to death, then you are part of the problem. Ypsilanti residents care about our neighbors to a higher degree than any other community I have lived in. It's one of the most beautiful parts of calling this place home. When we heard what was happening in our neighborhood to our neighbor, we stood watch for the entire duration of the siege. We brought each other food, hand warmers, chairs, blankets, water. Neighbors tried to offer up their homes for warmth and bathrooms to observers. They were notably prevented from doing so by the Ypsilanti police force, who instead suggested we, quote unquote, relieve ourselves in the street. I watched the local police force push peaceful observers to the ground because they were walking too slowly as the caution tape was being pushed back further yet again. Laugh as the siren sounds they blew into our ears made people flinch. I asked Officer Muhammad, badge 406, if that was funny to him. He said yes. Also notably, this man refused to provide his name or badge number until a police car almost made contact with my kneecaps. These officers cannot be said to care for their community, and if you think that people displaying this kind of behavior are at all competent to intervene when someone is at one of the most vulnerable points in their lives, you are deluding yourself. This city desperately needs a more intelligent and compassionate response to mental health crises. This county as well. We are living in what the media loves to call unprecedented times. Everyday neighbors are unable to access food, they are losing their homes, they are getting disappeared. Mental health crises are going to keep happening, particularly when we are losing access to basic supports that facilitate life. If we don't figure out a better response to this now, so many more people are going to be badly hurt. This should include preventative measures like increased access to low-cost housing in the county at a bare minimum. Crises like Rubin's don't occur in a vacuum. But what do I know? I just have an Ivy League graduate degree in public health. We need you to be better so that we can live better. And when things get really bad, when people are truly at the end of their rope and need help the most, we need non-police crisis responders that care about us more than they care about tearing off the front of our houses. Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Brad Hale. I live in Ypsilanti Township. I'm a local handyman and I've been doing home repairs, maintenance, renovations in the area for close to 20 years. Many of the houses I'm working on are multi-unit rental houses like 1111 West Cross that was besieged by the police the other day. Bearing that in mind, I'm going to stay in my lane and just tell you what was going through my mind when I watched a neighbor's footage of what was happening to the house. First of all, the wanton disregard for the fact that other people lived in this house directly below this man was beyond belief to me. Like a leaky radiator or a supply valve or even a toilet can do a lot of damage to the ceiling below it, but there was an entire apartment down there. Like, it's part of my job. I know these things. I've seen it. But I never thought I'd see a fire hose blasting into a second story of a house that wasn't on fire. Much less doing so before and after, punching a giant hole in a load-bearing exterior wall and wrecking the interior walls past it while there's a person inside. This is one of the most reckless things I've ever seen. They're extremely lucky there wasn't a critical structural failure in the middle of all this. In fact, I would be so bold as to say, if it were a newer construction home, there likely would have been. I will also point out the obvious fact that water likes to flow downhill. And as such, the basement of this house is surely flooded after being bombarded with a fire hose for an extended period of time. And all those basement dwelling amenities that help make a house livable, you know, a water heater, furnace, boiler. This is a 3-unit house, so there's likely 3 of each there, are scrap metal now, which will turn into, you know, this, there had to be water going down all the insides of the walls there. This house at best will be a mold farm by spring. It's not savable, and all the other tenants' belongings are destroyed, and now they have to find another place to live because you can't live in that house anymore. It's totaled. And all because she called the police to help, and instead of actually helping, they saw fit to make this house fit for a wrecking ball. And really, it just boiled down to one guy with a sword having a really bad day and needing a different kind of help. I truly hope the victims of this atrocity get the recompense they deserve. I would like to close by recommending that all the officers involved in this incident stay far away from serious home renovations. And they should leave that to professionals, but do not call me because I don't want their money.
Thank you.
Chair and Commissioners, I'm here speaking today as Ypsilanti Township, Charter Ypsilanti Township taxpayer and former elected trustee in the township. I'm here because of the county's handling of law enforcement services funded by Ypsilanti Township taxpayers represent a longstanding failure of stewardship that must be addressed plainly and directly. Ypsilanti Township contributes approximately 56% of the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department budget through taxable revenue, resources, and other operational supports. Yet, for more than a decade, the township has consistently received fewer deputies than allocated. whether it was 41 and we received 37, whether it was 37 and we received 33, whether it was 35 and we received 29. The outcome has been the same year after year before even accounting for leave, vacations, or vacancies. This is not a short-term staffing situation. This is a structural failure that has persisted regardless of which commissioners have represented our area or the political dynamics that existed at the county level. From a fiscal perspective, it's indefensible. Township residents are paying for a level of service they do not receive. From a governmental perspective, it's worse. When service levels fall short, accountability is infused across county departments, leaving residents without a clear remedy or a line of responsibility. Recent governmental disputes, litigations, and ongoing questions about internal operations within the sheriff's department only reinforces this concerns. But these are county level issues. Ypsilanti Township residents continue to bear consequences without controls, transparency, or the ability to enforce performance standards proportional to what they fund. The county has had years of data, years of notice, years of opportunity to correct this imbalance. It hasn't done so. The result has been predictable. Chronic understaffing in Ypsilanti Township, inconsistent enforcement coverage, a widening gap between what residents pay for and what we receive. This is why the continued dependence on a system the township doesn't control and cannot effectively hold accountable is no longer reasonable. When a funding partner repeatedly fails to deliver its proportional service, the responsible course of action is to change the structure. The county's failure to meet its obligations leaves Ypsilanti Township with no choice but to act in its own interest. It's not a threat. This is not a threat. It's accountability finally being enforced. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Parkilla. I'm an Ypsilanti resident. I'm here in regards to the mental health crisis that was addressed so poorly by police at 1111 West Cross the other night for over 36 hours. This is an undeniable abuse of power and misuse of resources that resulted in not just excessive force, but senseless abuse and physical and mental torture to the man who is having the mental health crisis. I work at a bar downtown in Ypsilanti, and I've worked at several convenience stores in the area. I've seen my fair share of human desperation, violence, and crime on the streets. And I would just like to point out that the officers who were dealing with this armed man are clearly not trained in risk assessment or de-escalation. To deploy so much force and militarized tactic and resources was insane and, dare I say, cowardly. If our police officers who are supposed to protect and serve us cannot stand between the public and this man armed with a sword, who is clearly having a mental health crisis, clearly related to an eviction notice he had received, then I don't have faith in them to stand between us and the truly violent, horrible people who are at large in the city of Ypsilanti. There's a huge power disparity between what those officers and that man in crisis, and their reaction was absolutely absurd. The property damage that ensued and also the trauma and torment that the neighbors and the community and his downstairs neighbor, who's an elderly woman, had to go through is just insane to me. Yeah, the police job is to protect the public, I thought. They're supposed to be warriors, not tormentors and torturers and bullies. And yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for anyone who chooses to take a dangerous job. But I'm really disappointed that they showed less bravery and compassion than a liquor store clerk or a bartender would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is, I'm sorry, my name is Dawn. I'm also a resident of Ypsilanti. It has been a very emotional week for those of us who live on Cross Street. So I apologize. I would just like to start by saying I understand that I am not a member of the law enforcement community nor a mental health professional, but that I respect the fact that I don't have the details of what occurred at 1111 West Cross that had law enforcement feel that such a significant response was required. but as a neighbor of this man, as a member of the Normal Park community for more than 20 years, and as the current president of our neighborhood association, I just want to share how these events have impacted me and my neighbors. What began as a request for mental health support and a crisis negotiation team turned into a long, loud, and disturbing show of force, holding my neighborhood hostage and definitely the man who was holed up inside of his house. Parked on our streets were bomb squad vehicles and ramming tanks. There was a full mobile command center and SWAT team on site. To someone passing by, it probably looked like a drug raid or an attempt to extract a person who was in their home with a cache of weaponry. But it wasn't. It was one single man experiencing a significant mental health crisis with something that was deemed a weapon and may have even been something less than that. We were told that the sheriff was attempting to de-escalate the situation, but as someone who has zero experience with de-escalation tactics, I do know that this wasn't it. The noise and lights were untenable to me, and I did not live in the closest proximity to this house. The teams cut his electricity and heat, they tear gassed him, they detonated sound and light grenades. And then when he was hiding in his attic, they used fire hoses to flood it. And finally, when they couldn't get him out, they ripped off the front of his house while threatening him over the megaphone. I witnessed zero compassion in the de-escalation of this situation. If protocol was followed, protocol needs to be changed. Mental health is not a cause for a SWAT team. Our neighborhood is sad, is angry, and is exceptionally disheartened by the actions of these law enforcement agencies. And what we ask for now is transparency into why these actions were taken, and we want accountability from those who choose to let them happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Perry Stone Palmquist. I know many of you very well. This is my son, Kel. I live on West Cross, less than a block from where this happened. I walk by that home multiple times a day, walking my extremely loud dogs. I am not going to be as prepared as my neighbor and good friend, Don, in my statement, but I want to tell you the feelings that I had. So this isn't my well-crafted here, I'm here professionally. This is like me. I've lived in Ypsilanti for 20 years. I'm a social worker. I fight against the school to prison pipeline every day for the last 20 years. So that's where I'm coming from. You guys know me, many of you know me really well. There was so many times starting Sunday, but especially Sunday at like 11 p.m., midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and then Monday afternoon, I was like, what is happening? It started to feel like we were in a war zone. The noises, the assault on the senses was so much. And I don't care about the impact, frankly, that it had on me. What I was saying as a social worker and as a community member, I was like, how can this possibly result in anything positive? Most of us were petrified that this neighbor of ours was going to be killed. And yes, it's a win, I guess, that he's not killed, but I don't want, like, that's a pretty low bar, y'all. I know the values of so many people around this table, even at the sheriff's department. I know the values in our community, and I expect more, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And I don't just expect it because it's Normal Park. I expect us to do better anywhere it is. I believe we need to invest in an independent investigation as to what really happened, because quite frankly, many of the news reports and even the official reports are complete crap for those of us who are on the ground watching things that happened. And I appreciate my neighbor Greg, who's going to be up soon, because he did a great job of documenting, and it was hard for even me. I'm just 2 houses down from him to see, and we kept getting in trouble for trying to be closer to see what was going on. And I will say, I'll never forget, we will ever forget the moment where we saw our law enforcement slamming into a house and saw the pieces fall on the ground of a house. and wondering, what if they hit, I believe you said, what if they hit this man? Right, this is what we were genuinely so scared and worried for the life of this person. And I don't want law enforcement to get hurt. I didn't want anyone to get hurt, right? So we want an independent review. We do want accountability. And y'all, we've been talking for years about investing in unarmed community response for mental health. And I guess I'm biased because I'm a social worker, but I do think that there's something to be said about that.
Okay, we got, thank you.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Greg Woodring. I live at 1012 West Cross, only 6 houses down from where the police siege and assault on this poor man was taking place. I arrived at my home about 10 p.m. on Sunday night after being out throughout the day. I left around 1 p.m. seeing the confrontation just begin. When I arrived, I had heard stories that the road was blocked off till Oakwood, and I was thankful that I was able to get in. I went into my house and immediately heard an explosion that shook all the walls. I went out to see what was going on, and I realized that they had been throwing flashbangs and tear gas grenades into the broken windows of this man's house. I inquired, disbelieving what I had heard online about what was happening, thinking for sure that this man must have some sort of bomb or serious weapon inside of his house. I was informed that he had a sword. I didn't believe it. It went on for hours and hours. They deployed an LRAD. They deployed tear gas grenades. They deployed flashbangs over and over and over again. The air was thick with smoke to the point where it was burning our eyes from houses away. I finally, at 1:30 a.m., decided I needed to go to bed. I had worked the next day. I worked from home. I tried to sleep to the sound of explosions and sirens going off across the street. I woke up the next morning disbelieving as I saw that the scene outside had grown only larger. I went outside to see what had happened. They had broken the windows more significantly. They had gone up from 8 people in full tactical gear to 20. More police departments had shown up. At this point, Howell PD, Hamburg County PD, Shiawassee County PD, Plymouth, Howell, had all been there, in addition to Ann Arbor, Eastern Michigan University, IPSI, Washtenaw, and SWAT. I watched in disbelief as this continued to escalate further and further until finally the police decided that the onlookers who were watching in disbelief peacefully were pushed back and tackled to the ground. Shortly after that, they brought in what I now know to be a rook. They demolished the building and they fired a fire hose into this house with this man in it. They pushed all of the onlookers back all the way to Oakwood Street, but they could not remove me from my property. And I sat there by myself, screaming at them, begging them to stop, as I was convinced that they were about to collapse this building on his head. It is unacceptable for us to have this level of military equipment in this community. We're talking about budget issues for the police department. Why are they able to afford military equipment to use on our streets? We have a National Guard in this country. Let them have the military equipment. They need to sell it all immediately. We need a full accounting of what decisions were made when, because it is unacceptable to make these kinds of decisions for a mental health crisis, and whoever made those decisions should not be in that role. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's going to be hard to beat. My name's Bill Bray. This is probably about my 6th time here. I'm here about blight. My township supervisor, there's ordinances on the book, explains in detail what they're supposed to do for over a year and a half, 20 plus some cars, junk cars, and he will do nothing about it. And I've worked hard my whole life. I served during Vietnam. I was a fireman. So I've worked hard in my lifetime, and I want to be able to live in a decent neighborhood without junk cars, junk garbage, especially when there's ordinances on the book explaining what they should do. I also now I'm starting to getting like I'm the bad guy. I went into the township to talk to him, and he comes in and he says, well, seems like trouble follows you around. he must be investigating me or something, looking me up. He did look me up on the internet. I see he accidentally put down a friend request to me. How stupid. And I know I wasn't going to take a friend request. He erased it real quick. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But I went in and talked to him, and he started saying, "I'm a troublemaker. You're a troublemaker." And I says, "I just want to take care of that." And finally, we talked a little bit. I didn't say anything smart to him. I sat there and listened to him. He turned and went into his office and left. And then here to the last township meeting last month, I went to the meeting and he stood up and said that I've been harassing him. And he had two of the board members. One of them was kind of reluctant, but the other one said, "Yes, that's true. We were there when he harassed him," which was a complete lie. I had my cell phone. I taped some of it. I'm not stupid. So, I mean, if he wants to hear it, or if he wants to take a lie detector test, I will gladly do it. But he will not do what he's supposed to do. He's getting paid to do a job and he will not do it. And one last thing. My stepson's getting deployed to the Middle East tomorrow. So I want people to think about him. He's got two young boys. One's 3 months and one's 2 years old. And their dad's going to be gone. They probably won't even know him when he gets back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Smolkin. I'm a resident of Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I'm here to express my concern about the law enforcement response to 1111 Cross Street. It was an unmitigated disaster. I was there on Monday afternoon for a few hours watching what was going on. I watched them fill a house with tear gas to the point it was escaping out of the chimneys, out of the windows. I felt the gas sting in my eyes, standing some 100 yards away. I can't imagine what it was like to live in a house next door, or to the point even to be in that house at the time. Yeah, tear gas is obviously not a good tool to respond to mental health crisis. LRAD is not a good tool to respond to mental health crisis. I've done some volunteering with homeless shelters in town. We get knives pulling us sometimes. And we diffuse the situation. I've seen people with 30 minutes in a granola bar do what law enforcement couldn't do for 36 hours using LRAD and SWAT teams. So what I wanted to see is I want to see an accounting of exactly how much of our county resources were used for this law enforcement response. I want to know how much the RIC cost, how much the LRAD cost, how much we spent on payroll for that 36-hour operation. And yeah, this all started because a person had trouble finding work and paying rent. I think every single person in this room would be extremely stressed out if that was their situation. I'm curious to see how many months of rent we could have paid with the money we spent on the law enforcement response. And maybe we can spend resources towards helping people live, good, safe, healthy lives in this county, rather than spending hundreds of times that amount of money to try to punish them for just being having bad luck. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Harrison Zamperla. I've been a resident of Ypsilanti for about 20 years. I run a small remodeling business. I want to just say two things. One, I've known a lot of people in military, law enforcement. I know it's not an easy job. I know that sometimes in the heat of the moment, things are difficult. I also want to say, living in Ypsi, I've dealt with a lot of people who are very unhinged. I've been kidnapped, essentially mugged, for 6 blocks in Cross Street once at knife and gunpoint. All that being said, somebody having a mental health crisis with a sword, why do we need 4+ police departments? I'm pretty sure the National Guard was there, SWAT, and I'm pretty sure they destroyed $350,000 worth of property. I looked the house up on the 1111 on Zillow earlier. And then pushed residents away from the area, 4-block radius. Seems unnecessary. Seems, what do you have to, if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to hide? I just think that's completely unnecessary. I know they're not mental health experts. I'm also not just trying to, crap on the police department. I'm just saying this is your job. I've worked a lot of jobs in my life. If I don't do my job right, if I destroyed a kitchen to make an omelet, I would be fired. It's your job to take care of the community. It's the law enforcement's job to take care of the community. Please do your job. Make sure there's resources to help people. We don't need to drop a bomb on an anthill. Please make sure there's resources, there's steps taken before we have to demolish a house, use the street as a training ground, and this mentally ill person is cannon fodder. You know it's wrong. Please, just do your job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Kellman. I'm a resident of Ann Arbor. I was at the Maze, eating dinner with my 2 boys. We decided to drive back home to my place. We noticed that the section area was blocked off. So the only question I have is, what should I explain to my kids about what happened?
Thank you.
G.R. Mahaley, Ypsi Township. I just like to talk about relationships, how we see, treat, and talk to each other. And especially people internationally in other countries and such. An example I like to bring up in the early 90s, and this, as I know a few you can remember then. Clinton met with Putin. I know Putin's not a nice guy. He's not a good guy either. But Putin came and met with Clinton and asked him, he wanted to be a part of the world. He wanted to join the world at that time, after the Soviet Union fell and created Russia. And Clinton turned around and talked to the other leaders of the world at that time. And other leaders of the world said, no, we don't want none of that. And he kept Russia a pariah. And hence we have what we have today because of that action. That's why I'm talking about relationships and how we treat and talk and to each other in other countries. This is important because the actions of our past can come back and bite us in our butts later. And this is one action. And here's a big what if. What if things could have been different? What if the world could have brought Russia into the fold? How would the world look today? We don't know because we never did it. I'm asking that for people to do that with people in their own lives as well, who have issues. Maybe take that second look and treat them different. The outcomes may be different. And so far, we've seen how our organization can treat a person that does have something going on that they don't quite understand, but they don't know what to do with it, and you saw what they can throw at it. They didn't know how to talk to them. They didn't know how to see them. They didn't know how to treat them. And you can see what the outcome was on many levels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Kolka and I live in the city of Ypsilanti. So I guess people have covered the details of what happened, so I won't talk about all of that because we know it now, right? Really, really, really screwed up and wrong and bad. But I do want to talk about how, so I both work and volunteer and a little bit of stuff in between, and a lot of, whether it's like homeless shelters, informal, formal. I'm a social worker, kind of technically. And for a long time, I've known, don't call 911. Calling 911 will make the situation worse pretty much no matter what. So that's something I've known for a while now. And I think a lot of people in this community also kind of uphold that, right? Even if it's something really bad, it can only get worse if you call 911. But we also have this crisis number, 734-544-3050. That I've also been taught, don't call that number because that number also makes things worse. You have no guarantee. You can beg the operator, please do not dispatch police. It is okay, I just need extra help. And police will show up, no matter that. They'll end the call and say, we're gonna transfer you over. You have to recall 911 because we can't transfer you over. So now that resource, is kind of taken away because it's not safe. You can't get help that you want through that number. Things that happened like the Sunday and Monday in Ipsy teach the whole community, if you call for help, you will not get it and things will get a lot worse. So we're eliminating the purpose of that number, that like so much money is going into funding, so much money is going into publicizing, plastered on all of these billboards and stuff. And we're just eliminating the use of it because people are scared because they think, if I call this, I might get I don't even know the names of these machines that are being now like popularized because this was in my backyard, this thing that I've only seen, or heard of or had to Google, what is this machine that's, torturing my neighbor? Why is it doing that? So that's a caution of like, that's like a huge ramification of like also costs of this, not just the things that we're paying the people, the materials used, et cetera, but like this huge resource that this is the only option. If you're in crisis, you have to call this number, is being reduced. So I'm wearing a care-based safety shirt. I'm not affiliated in any way. I'm just a fan. I think we've totally fumbled. Ann Arbor has fumbled, Ipsy has fumbled, Washtenaw County has fumbled in not pouring money into this resource. It's not only unarmed crisis response, it's like non-police crisis response, which we've been told now, like we see now why that's important, not just unarmed police, because police don't have the skills to do anything besides make things worse. So we need just everyday people who know everyday people to be able to respond to these things, which they did still in the face of this, but were arrested, were tackled when they were trying to do what they were supposed to do. I do think that every department that dispatched.
Excuse me,
police
your 3 minutes are up.
should be accountable for this, not just Washtenaw, but all of them.
Thank you.
I live in Ipsy. I have been listening to my community terrified about this siege over multiple days, 3 blocks of the city being blocked off. I tried to walk through a neighborhood, was told by a cop, you can't cross here. It's a police line, and that's lawful order with no explanation, just my movements throughout the city being restricted just because I wanted to walk through the city. And they're ripping down this man's house. I can't say that I want cops to feel afraid for their lives the way that the people who live in Ipsy are afraid of their lives with these armed thugs. There were so many different agencies, the cars from county, different cities. It reminded me of when every agency under the sun rolled in to clear out the kids who were protesting the genocide in Gaza, in the Diag. Like, this is a bloodthirsty country that is massacring people all over the world, in Venezuela, and here with ICE. Like, it's despicable, and I don't know how to live with it.
Thank you.
I'm from Palmquist, and I live on West Cross Street in Ypsilanti. And I'm talking about the same issue which has been talked about a lot. So I went outside at one point and heard the police talking through the megaphone to Ruben, and they were saying something to the effect of, and repeating this over and over again, like, you can stop this, you can make the right decision, drop the sword and come outside. So from that, I guess, their goal was to get him to come outside and to do so in a way that made sure no one got hurt. Their goal was, a peaceful-ish resolution. Except that their actions showed the exact opposite. So just imagine for yourself, you're in perfect health, you are mentally sound, except you're hungry because Ruben's power was shut off. And you're thirsty because your water was shut off. And you're cold because your heat was shut off, and your windows have been broken, and your wall has been broken.
And your nerves are fried because you have experienced a barrage of flashbangs and tear gas and, again, getting your wall broken down. I don't think anyone would be in the right position to make the right decision, to be logical. And that's not to mention that Ruben was having a mental health crisis, so he wasn't in a logical position to begin with. And so I think that that's to say that the police didn't do their jobs. They didn't fulfill their objective, and they escalated rather than de-escalating, and that's not right.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick. I'm a homeowner in the city of Ypsilanti. I was one of the people who was standing on West Cross Street for hours on Monday, screaming and screaming for any of the authorities there to take note of our deep fear that this person would lose his life from exposure, from police violence, from suicide. This member of our community was left in this incredibly unsafe position for 30 hours. And many of us, many people of conscience were there, and we showed up and we spoke to the police and we spoke to the sheriffs and we spoke to Alicia Dyer. We spoke to every authority there trying to be heard, and all we were was laughed at. So I'm standing in front of the Board of Commissioners, and these are the people who are in charge of the budget. So let's talk about the budget and let's talk about waste. Because seeing the unbelievable number of law enforcement officers, I was horrified to know that I'm in a community that doesn't have a place for people to safely stay overnight if they're experiencing homelessness. Why do we have the money for the Rook and the SWAT team and the LRAD and the flashbangs? By the way, I walked by yesterday and there were multiple shells from the munitions that they used left on the lawn that they used to break the door in. So they had 30 hours to sit there in their cars, in their warm seats, trying to get this guy to come out of the house, but they didn't have 5 minutes to clean up the ammunition shells that they left on the lawn. And by the way, you should go look at the tire tracks too. Speaking of the tire tracks, there were police vehicles, marked and unmarked, sitting, having their engines on, idling across 4 city blocks. I walked all around that area and I saw law enforcement vehicles from counties that or not counties, but like cities that I've never even heard of. Like, why were there dozens and dozens and dozens of different cop cars, different sheriff cars, and especially the unmarked cars? This was unbelievable. Seeing the Ypsilanti police officers standing around, joking, doing literally nothing for hours. The only thing that the Ypsilanti police officers did do was forcibly push back me and my comrades when we were trying to witness, trying to shout to this person that we were there to support him, trying to take a video of what they were doing. That's all they did, was push us back. They told us that it was for our safety. I don't understand why they are using weapons in a residential block that would cause passersby 1 whole block away to be unsafe. That makes no sense. Non-lethal force is not the same as non-violent force. This was not a success. This person did not die, but he will be traumatized for the rest of his life. And I am traumatized too. This was horrific. We need to talk about the finances of this. I think we should be defunding all these agencies, and those weapons need to be sold. If you can't be responsible with your toys, they should be taken away.
I didn't come here to speak to you tonight. I came here to be with my community in this time of pain. So the mic is here though, so I'm facing you, but I'm really talking to you all. I didn't come here to speak tonight, but we've heard a lot about a mental health crisis. And I think there was definitely a mental health crisis this week, but it was not in that house as much as it was outside that house. In this city, in the city of Ypsilanti, in the county, in the city of Ann Arbor, this entire county, in state and country. This is insane, absolutely insane what happened. And it's the logical conclusion of an insane structural system. And this is not news to any of you, to any of us. It's not news. Or a roster, David Ware, now Ruben, the man whose name we still don't even know, who was shot and killed by police the same night. These law enforcement agencies do not exist to keep us safe. They just simply do not. Anybody who is trying to make that claim is gaslighting you, is gaslighting us. So what is going on with this insanity? And you as commissioners are part of it. You're part of this insanity that continues to fund law enforcement instead of real solutions that are out there, that are known, that are documented, that are researched. So I think we just need to stop speaking to you, the county commissioners, stop looking to elected officials to fix this because you've had enough time. It's not happening. And we need to find a different way to move forward to make the solutions happen for ourselves in the community and take care of each other as community members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm a resident of Ypsi Township. I've lived in Washtenaw County for what, like 15 years now. And this is just the most baffling and horrendous thing I've witnessed in my time here. The events on Cross Street the other night. First, I want to address, like, we still don't know the status of Ruben, of the man, if he's alive or not, what condition he's in. We need that information now. I also want to address the gross misuse of county funds on this. Like, how many hundreds of thousands were spent on all of these vehicles, all of these different police, just to traumatize a man in his neighborhood. One of the most shocking things that stood out to me was, I was watching Greg's videos of the situation. I was also there in person for a little while on Monday night. But the negotiator of the situation, who is supposed to be a trained mental health professional, I heard him say in trying to coax Ruben out, like, everything that is happening here right now is your fault. I mean, you are, like, everything that is happening is fully under your control, which is just a sick and twisted thing to say to a man who's experiencing a mental health crisis, who has an army of police outside of his door. And I just can't believe that happened here. And I can't believe that this was, Washtenaw County. This is something that you could see ICE doing in cities. You could see, like, I don't know, from our disgusting administration, but not here at home in what is supposed to be a progressive part of Michigan. And where are our priorities as a society that we have all of this funding for military equipment for police to traumatize the population, but we can't afford services to keep people in better health, to give them housing. And we are in the midst of a recession, actually. I don't know if you've noticed that the price of things keeps going up, and the amount of jobs keeps going down, but it just seems like it's getting worse. And we need to take a look at ourselves, at our brothers and sisters out there, our fellow humans, and decide, do we want to spend what funds we have caring about each other, or further abusing and inflicting violence on each other? Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is CB Fulton, and I'm also a resident of Ypsi. I've been a resident for about 2 years. I'm here to also talk about the siege that happened in my neighborhood. I don't have much to add to what everyone else has added, but I was also there on Monday night, and it was just, I just remember being so scared and frightened. Like, I know this was an eviction, and like, what if I don't have the money for my apartment? And like, is this the response that we would see and my neighbors next door would see? And also I remember thinking that when they were hosing my neighbor's house, that it reminded me a lot of my papa, who would hose groundhogs out of the ground to drown them and kill them. It's like, these cops don't see us as humans. They don't treat us like the way I would want to be treated. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah. I'm an Ypsilanti resident. There's nothing that I can say that is more impactful than what everybody's already said about this issue. I just want us, as we move forward, I'm a social worker. I've worked in children's services, and I've seen how policing, whether it's family policing, community, like police in the community, how it can go wrong. And I just want us to think about, as we're moving forward with a response and a reaction, to decouple mental health from policing. And I know there's a millage right now where they're coupled together, and that's going to be tough, but I really want us to think about decoupling those two things. We've seen that it is not working. And if there were mental health professionals there, as my fellow Ypsi resident has said, that telling people that it was his fault that this was happening, that's not mental health. And so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lauren Rollman. I live in the city of Chelsea. Let me first say, wow, thanks for speaking up on a really important topic. Mine's going to seem quite mundane by comparison, I have to say. I live in the city of Chelsea, as I said. I'm here on behalf of numerous homeowners and businesses in Chelsea and Sylvan Township, along with over 700 people who've signed a petition and are opposed to road commission plans to widen Werkner Road. We've spoken to the road commission. Many of us have shared those concerns directly. I volunteered to make sure those concerns are also known to you. And it's important to note, I think, that the road commission told us widening is expected because of a memorandum of understanding with the county commission. Thus, I'm here tonight to share the concerns with you. We've been told that an additional 8 to 12 feet will be added to the width of the current road, requiring removal of old growth trees, some of which are well over 100 years old, and loss of homeowner land and habitat on both sides, even if in the right of way. We support repairing the road for sure, but we do not believe widening is needed. We believe widening will lead to more and faster traffic on a rural road, negative impact on the natural ecosystem, and is inconsistent with tree preservation, environmental, and climate action goals in our county. We were informed that the rationale for widening is twofold. Number one, to meet federal and state guidelines, and secondly, to improve road safety. However, we've since learned that all project funding is county money, so those federal and state guidelines are optional. A 2015 Federal Department of Transportation report showed that widening rural roads invites higher traffic speeds. Southeast Michigan Council of Governments data from 2020 to 2024 show only 5 crashes on this stretch of road. All of them were single vehicle collisions with deer. All 5 crashes were deemed property damage only, which is the lowest possible severity rating. In other words, this road is already very safe and widening is not necessary and an unnecessary expense. To be sure, we do support repairing Werkner Road, but we do not believe widening is necessary or even a good use of taxpayer funds, especially since the B2B trail was just created nearby, connecting this very same section of M52 to Sibley Road that the Road Commission is trying to connect with a wider road and taxpayer funding. So we're asking you to request that the Road Commission repair but not widen the road, notwithstanding this MOU, and at least require, if they're going to go ahead anyways, an environmental impact assessment and stronger safety justification. Thank you for service to our community and for your for the chance to speak today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to come, excuse me, anyone else to speak before the commission?
Hi, good evening. KJ Pedri, City of Ypsilanti. I am also here to discuss the incident at 111 West Cross. I was present on Monday. The scene was horrific, and there are no excuses for this. There can only be accountability, swift change, and this can never happen in Washtenaw County again. Getting an eviction notice in Michigan in the winter should not feel like a death sentence. So money needs to be put into shelter for single adults immediately. That has been a discussion on the table for too long. We've come to you for too long, over and over. Getting family shelter was an excellent win, but we have single adults who are also members of families, who have loved ones, who have parents, who have children, who have people relying on them to be safe. So we need to address this by having shelter now. We also need to address this by having meaningful non-police response. Again, this is something your community has been coming to you for over and over. We have been working at the grassroots level to find any and all available resources to make these realities. We have been instead of getting the program that we want, pivoting to training our neighbors into being more skilled in conflict de-escalation and bystander intervention, because we cannot rely on the resources that exist. I have heard calls lately to educate our neighbors on non-police resources. And as you heard from Lindsay, those resources are lacking. So when I go to do the work of educating people, I have to say, and this might escalate and this might get worse, and there isn't really any option. These incidents with police are not safe in the immediate term or the long term. This was a violent encounter. I went home and had to tell my children that their parent is sore from getting shoved around by the police today. And my child says they sound like they should be in jail. Police and medical providers are some of the only people who are empowered to physically assault us. What was done to me, pushing my body from Hiawatha to Oakwood because I refused to back down from standing witness to what was going on in my city, because I was just convinced that our continued presence was integral to the safety of this man, that witness was being oppressed because it was effective in keeping things de-escalated. This felt like a training exercise. This felt like using this individual's crisis to further military agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak to the commission? And I believe we have someone on Zoom. Go ahead.
Yes, clerk. First, we have Hannah Hilborn.
Hi, my name is Hannah Hilborn, and I'm a resident of Muskegon County, Michigan. And I felt compelled to join today as a social worker for one. I think that it's common knowledge right now that Medicaid is being hugely defunded, and this is already impacting a lot of clients in my area, so I can only imagine it is yours as well. And with the decrease to Medicaid, of course, is going to come with some more issues for people with mental health concerns like Mr. Rubin that we've heard so much about tonight. And I just want that to be something that is in the back of everyone's heads as well, that this is going to be something that mental health care is going to be less and less accessible from what we're seeing from the big, beautiful bill. And as somebody who overcame mental health challenges myself and has had police come to my door, overcame the challenges and became a social worker to help people who've been through that, I cannot imagine being on the receiving end of what was allowed. The secondary trauma to the residents alone, the trauma that's been caused across the state to people who've heard about this. You're a bigger county than Muskegon. You are an example to us. Please be a better example. This is just something that has impacted not only your community, but others. And it's a very recent occurrence that hasn't been in the media very accurately. I think most of what I'm seeing is from people who were there. That seems to be accurate. So the more that this gets out, the more it's going to be a bigger problem. And it might be something that you'd want to clean up quicker. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom?
Yes, clerk. Next, we have A.
Hello, my name is Amy Hollifield. I have lived in Washtenaw County for about 30 days. In that 30 days, I have now seen my neighbor assaulted with flashbangs, with tear gas, with a fire hose. And I specifically, in going to check on this neighborhood, was tackled to the ground by Ypsilanti police officers, bruises of which I am still looking at today, cuts of which I am still looking at today. The day after which you killed somebody, which we're also not talking about. Shocked. 30 days I've lived here, and this is what I've already experienced. I moved here because you're supposed to be some ridiculous bastion of progression. Are you kidding me? Officer Muhammad told me as I walked away that night that I hadn't learned my lesson. You're going to tell me these are people approaching you, approaching our community with mental health resources? A woman with a cane walking away after getting the crap beat out of her by police is told she hasn't learned her lesson? What are they saying to Ruben then? This is disgusting. I cannot believe that I thought this city was what it was. The only reason Ypsilanti is what it is its community. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one else online, clerk.
All right. Anyone else to speak? Anyone else? Well, in that case, we will proceed to commissioner follow-up to public participation. Do any of the commissioners wish to follow up? Commissioner Somerville, go ahead.
Thank you. First, I just want to thank all of the constituents that live in the city of Ypsilanti, which is my district, who came tonight to speak about the events that occurred on Sunday and Monday. The mental health crisis that my constituent Ruben was in should have never resulted in a militarized response with tactics such as pumping water into his home and later half demolishing the upstairs building. Metro SWAT as a whole terrorized Ruben for over 30 hours along with the surrounding community. I was on the scene 2 different times on Monday. I showed up around 3:30 because I was having a hard time getting information from the sheriff's office on questions the neighbors had, like if kids could go home from school, or if people could return from work, or if they could leave if they needed to and come back to their homes. I later was able to get some answers to those questions by being there and asking the sheriff's office to post updated information for the neighbors. Other colleagues of mine have questions around the communication protocol used with Everbridge, and I also raised questions to the sheriff's office on how else are we communicating with people. We should not assume that everybody's on Facebook, and we should not assume that everyone is on the email list or on the Everbridge alert system. The second time that I arrived was around 9:30 because many of my constituents and close friends started calling me because they started demolishing the house. And I was sitting in my living room trying to stay in my lane as commissioner because I'm not a police officer and I'm not the sheriff. And I couldn't believe that I was sitting at home watching TV while somebody's home was getting demolished and my friends and neighbors were watching it. I want to thank Greg Woodring for documenting as much of this situation as he could. News agencies could not get close enough to document everything that was happening. And while multiple accounts of who was in charge of command at the time are being bounced around, what I have control over is the county's budget, which includes tactics and responses that the sheriff's office is in charge of. And so that's what I am committed to following up on. And I'm also committed to continuing to communicate with the city and understand different decisions made by YPD, different decisions made when people called dispatch leading up to Sunday. I'm still waiting on an official statement from the sheriff's office, which is why I haven't made an official statement. I'm waiting for more facts. But what I can say is that I don't think it was necessary to use a fire hose to drown a person in a mental health crisis out of their home. I don't think it was necessary to start demolishing a home. I want and expect a full review of the tactics that were used by Metro Spot. I specifically asked the sheriff today if she could clarify who signed off on the use of the water hose and who signed off on the step to start demolishing the building. But there were many other tactics used that I don't agree with, and I want a better understanding of who agreed to it and why. I also want to know what non-violent, what actual de-escalation tactics were used. A clear understanding of which agency was in command is also something that I believe the community needs to know. a clear understanding and a review of every single dispatch call that was made in relation to Ruben's mental health crisis. I was told that on many occasions leading up to Sunday, people called for help. They were never once told that CMH had a crisis line or a team that could respond without police. This gentleman had a history and people at CMH knew who he was, and they could have responded to the situation with a sword without the escalation that was caused by police presence. I've already asked the county administrator if he can get a review for me of those dispatch calls, because I want to understand why no one ever informed the individuals who reached out about Ruben. Were told that we had mental health resources and a number that you could call. The number was never called. So I understand that sometimes that number can escalate to police, but it was never even an option. CMH was never informed until it was too late. The first time CMH was brought into this conversation was after the crisis response team was activated. And by that point, that it was escalated and there was nothing CMH could do by the time that they got there. I want to know how much money was spent. I want to know how many canisters of tear gas were used. I want to know how much water was pumped into his house. The property was left a mess, and the people who own that property and the woman who's now been displaced, they were left to clean it up and pay for it to get boarded up. There's still debris outside. I want to understand why the people, including the county, including the sheriff's office, including everybody involved with Metro SWAT, why they didn't clean up their mess, why they left the people who own that property to clean it up. And for people who have brought up unarmed response, I agree with you. And I also want to say that this body, we did make changes to the mental health and public safety millage, and we require that 10% of the sheriff's office millage does go to unarmed response. And so I encourage you all to pay attention to the millage advisory committee and work through that process and watch out for the RFP that goes out, because it is a requirement. We all voted on that. I got some other questions from constituents, and I hope that we can get these answers. I'm hoping that we can get these answers from the sheriff's office, because that's who I work directly with. I'm not an Ipsy City Council, and so I can't demand questions from them, but the things that I want to know is a full timeline of events from the initial call to the involvement of Washtenaw County, the sheriff's office. At what point were mental health professionals involved? Again, which de-escalation tactics and strategies were used? How did the chain of command evolve as the situation progressed? What interventions or tactics were available for this situation or future situations? And many constituents have reached out about an internal and an independent review of this incident. It's been really hard to not be able to answer questions. I would like more clarity sooner. The city of Ypsilanti released a statement today. I'm still waiting on the sheriff's office to release a statement. And I can tell you that the thing that I've said, the one public statement I did make on social media was a video of water being pumped into the house. And I'm not a cop and I'm not a social worker, but it in no way was compassionate, and it did not lead me to believe that de-escalation was an option. And the other thing that I want to say, when I went home on Monday after going in the afternoon, I asked the sheriff if there were going to be additional attempts that day, that afternoon, and that evening to actually de-escalate the situation. She told me there was. Everything that happened after that was the fire hose, was the half demolition of the building. I would have stayed. I was trying really hard to not, like, I'm not part of the agency. I'm not a cop. I'm just a commissioner, but I would have stayed the whole time had I known that there wasn't going to be a single thing done after I left to de-escalate. I asked and I wanted to believe that that was going to happen, and that is not what happened after I left. I saw the fire truck there hooked up to the fire hydrant. I asked why it was there. I was told it was there just in case something caught on fire. I was not told that the water was going to be pumped into the home. I've never seen a tactic used like that, where somebody would pump water into the home. Someone gave public comment and said that they've only ever seen that with a building on fire. Me too. And so I was really confused why it was there. That was one of the first things that I noticed when I arrived at 3 p.m. on Monday. those are my comments for now, but I have been encouraging constituents to call and email me. I'm working on hopefully holding a series of public sessions where people can debrief on this, both for the immediate neighborhood, but also the broader community in Ypsilanti. Because my biggest fear is that the next time somebody's in the crisis, they're not going to reach out for help because they're going to be too scared that their house is going to be torn down and demolished by the police. Thank you.
Any other commissioner follow-up? Any others? Commissioner Beaman.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'm addressing only the issue that's happening in my district, which is Bill, and I'm terribly sorry for everything that he continues to face with the blight. I've tried to set up a meeting with the township and was unable to do so. I will continue to attempt to do that in support of his issue, but thank you again for everyone coming and speaking tonight.
Commissioner Maciejewski.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to thank Mr. Rollman for coming in tonight. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Talk about the Workner Road project. For those who may be watching or aren't aware, there are 2 public meetings coming up about that project in February, one on the 9th and one on the 11th. I encourage you to attend those meetings if you can, and voice your opinion to the Road Commission. I know that our administration has talked to the Road Commission about this project. I have an upcoming opportunity to talk to them as well. And Mr. Rollman, I'd like the opportunity to connect with you sometime in the next day or 2. And again, appreciate you coming down tonight. Thank you. And there was also a written public comment about this. And I want to thank everybody the dozens of people who have emailed me about this and reached out as well. So thank you.
All right. Okay. Commissioner Hodge.
Thank you, Chair. I echo the sentiment that Commissioner Somerville shared very beautifully. Thank you. I won't address it further because I think you did an awesome job with it. I will address the comment that a constituent made earlier, and I don't think she's here anymore, about the understaffing for deputies in Ypsilanti Township. That's something that's being worked on. The Police Services Steering Committee is going to be, or has been reactivated, and will be scheduled. A meeting for that will be scheduled very soon. That is an issue with other contract partners too. So that's something that we're aware of and we are actively working on. So hopefully the constituent is listening, but that's something that we know about. We've heard that from many residents coming here for the last several meetings about the not being fully staffed, and we're hoping to be able to fix that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioner follow-up? Anyone else? All right. We'll continue to liaison reports. Are there any liaison reports this evening? Hearing none. Report from the county administrator?
No report.
Okay. Report from the chair of the Board of Commissioners. Right now, we don't have a chair yet, so I'll continue to the special order of business. Election of the chair and vice chair. And of course, when the chair is elected, I will surrender this position to the chair. So are there any nominations for chair of the Board of Commissioners for the coming year? Commissioner Hodge.
Thank you, Chair. I want to nominate Commissioner Scott to be chair. I really appreciate your leadership over the last year, particularly given the wide variety of unexpected challenges that we have had. So would love to support you to do it again for another year.
Okay. Commissioner Scott has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of electing Commissioner Scott to be chair of the Board of Commissioners for the coming year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Congratulations.
Record a second on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I think. Last year, it started with a bang with immediately getting administrative subpoenas. So let's hope that this year's, I'm not even gonna, in the ICU, we don't say the Q word. We're not gonna say it here. Thank you, everyone. Commissioner Light, you have a question?
Yes, could we just let everyone know that we did not supply the snacks, one of our residents did. So thank you to whoever supplied the snacks, but we didn't do that. And we just want to make sure you take them with you and pass them out, but we didn't do it.
Thank you. I didn't even know what the snacks were for, so thanks for knowing that. That's great. Thank you, Commissioner Light. Okay, the next item then is to elect the vice chair of the Board of Commissioners. And I'm wondering if there are any nominations for the vice chair. I have, okay, Commissioner Labar, go ahead.
Chair, I don't know if you can nominate from the chair or not,
Oh,
but
okay.
if you can't, let me throw Commissioner Justin Hodges' name in there to be vice chair. I think he's done a great job this last year and would like him to continue to do that.
Okay. Do I have a support? Okay, great. All those who are in favor of Justin Hodge as vice chair of the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations, Commissioner Hodge. Do you
Thank
want to
you.
say anything before we go on? I don't know why I'm asking you. You always want to say something.
No, just let's do another great year here at County Work.
Okay, fantastic. I love that. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is the resolution adopting the rules and regulations of the County Board of Commissioners. Anybody would like to move that resolution?
So moved.
There's support?
Support.
Great. Any discussion on this? Okay, do I roll call this one? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on resolution adopting the rules and regulations. Brendan?
Commissioner Beaman,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodge.
Yep.
Commissioner Labar,
Yes.
Commissioner Light,
Yes.
Commissioner Machewski,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbie, Commissioner Sanders, Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Somerville.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Next item is the election of standing committee officers, and so that would be our working session chair and vice working session chair. Do I have any nominations for working session chair? Commissioner Beaman?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to nominate Andy Lobar.
Thank you. Any other nominations? I'm following it. There are clerks thing there. Okay. All those in favor? I thought I had a second. Do I have a second?
Support.
Support. Okay, sorry. All those in favor of Commissioner Labar being working session chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Congratulations, Commissioner Labar. Would you like to say anything? Okay, okay. And as the kids are saying, this is tracking with all of us right now. Do I have any nominations for vice chair of the working session? Commissioner Labar?
Yeah. I would like to nominate a friend and colleague and a wonderful person at this table, Shannon Beaman, to be vice chair.
Support.
Fantastic. Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor of Commissioner Beaman? Any opposed? Great. You guys, look at, we're getting all this work done. Next item on the agenda are appointments. We don't have appointments on this agenda. We will have appointments on the next agenda. It will be a whole process. Look for an email from me soon to find out if you are interested in continuing to serve on the committees you're serving on, and I will let you know where we continue to have holes, and hopefully we'll get that all set up soon. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Would anybody like to move the consent agenda?
Support.
Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, no resolutions on the item. The next is the items for current and future discussion. I'll open it up to the floor in a second. But the first thing we have is the oath of understanding of the standard of ethics for the Board of Commissioners. Are we supposed to say this? Or are we just supposed to note that we have this? Okay, so read it and sign it. This is your commissioner oath. There is a standard of ethics that was included at your desk about that. So look that over. Commissioner Light, you have a question?
I wanted to go back to resolutions. I wanted to move to adopt the following resolution that you are receiving right now. That states, excuse me,
Yeah, can we do this can we do this coming up because we've got this item for items for current and future items. We'll do this after the oath for next item on items for current and future.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you. That will give people a chance to look at this. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna continue with saying, look at the, standard of ethics for the Board of Commissioners, check that over, make sure that you're okay with all the things said there. And then sign that oath, please. And I think you can give those back to Brendan. I'm looking at him. Yes, Brendan. Okay. Just the one. Yep. Okay. Any questions about the ethics? All right. Commissioner Light has given us this resolution. I personally would like just a minute to see what I'm looking at. And we just take a minute to look at this. Thank you. I'm just talking to the corporation council. I'm just gonna ask if we can call a brief recess so we have some time to look at this. And then come back and be able to discuss it. So do I need somebody to move that or can I just call a recess? All right, all right, all right. We're gonna have a recess for about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll be back. Thank you. I guess we need to. Like, yeah. I asked them, they didn't think I, We need some commissioners back and then we'll come back to session. Come on back, commissioners. Come on back. Ashley is doing her, oh, now my kid is calling me. I've only called him since 8 in the morning today. And I pledged to him that I will always answer his call. Okay, hi. We're back to the meeting. And we are still on items for current and future discussion. Are there any other items for current and future discussion at this time? Commissioner, oh my gosh, Beeman. Sorry, perimenopausal moments abound.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring forward, it's for future, it's not for tonight, but Freedom Township has passed a resolution as they are grappling with the biodigester. So I will be forwarding that to everyone and would like to support them with something similar. So that will be future.
Great, thank you. Any other items for current, Commissioner Labar?
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder to folks, if you would please just respond to the inquiry about the additional working session or not, either way, just so we can either get that on, or if not, just be prepared for a bit of double duty on the 4th.
Yeah, I think it's probably not a bad idea. We've got a lot of deadlines looming.
I've had 2 responses, Commissioner Hodge. And I'm
Sorry.
hopeful for more.
I'm a derelict. Okay. Any other items for current and future discussion? Commissioner Robbie?
I guess I'll just mention to the whole board that I'm working on with REO a resolution in response to what the first 4 speakers came to our meeting to speak about. So I know Commissioner Scott's also been working on.
I have been working on it for a very long
one as
time.
well. So we got some resolutions coming down the road.
Yeah. Thank you. I have been working on that resolution maybe since September or October, so I'm glad you've joined. Thanks.
I know yours was about masking.
Yes.
And I'd like to include access to county facilities and resources, as well as county properties. I appreciate the work that you've done on the masking front.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders?
Just wanted to address the historical way that we have decided who would be in leadership. I've talked about this before, maybe not so much publicly, but I would like for us as a board to consider being more transparent and making that process be more in alignment to the way that we are all elected into our positions. That it shouldn't be a behind the door sort of agreement for who's going to be in leadership. I think that all of us as leaders should at least be responsible and transparent enough to talk openly about our qualifications and why we think that we should be the chair of this or the vice chair of that. I've been saying that since my first term, and I continue to say it, and I just wanted to put it on the record that I would like for us to look at a new way to start electing our leadership and not have it be sort of I don't want to say a good old boys, but something aligned to, not letting the public see what the process is.
I think that's a great idea, Commissioner Sanders, and I would be more than happy to work with you and figure out like what we could do to make that transparent and open. I think that's a great idea. Any other items for current and future discussion? Listen, 2026, it's going to be a great year. This is going to be I've said this before at the end of difficult meetings, but I really do feel that as a board, we are more cohesive and united than ever. And even though I think it has been a difficult start to 2026, I feel more ready than ever to greet that with the group of the 8 of you at this table with us. So I'm ready. Let's do it. Is there a second? All those in favor? Thank you.